it is to show you this project which is called Keno, which is a CAD/CAM software that runs completely on the browser, open source, which allows you to draw a part and get the actual G code for it, so you can be machining it in less than 5 minutes. So let's get to it. This is the page you get when you first load it. This is your viewport in the middle. Got CAD and CAM parts here. You can see our coordinates here. Each one of these squares represent 1 inch. So here we can see that in this upper part we're at 1 and 1 inch. Here will be 2 and 2, and just like that. This is the origin where this line ends, and usually I take this as the shock, but you can do it as you wish. You can maybe set it there if you wish. So we can import and export projects here, and we can also import one. This will save and import everything from your drawing, your operations, your tools, everything. I can get to draw here. For example, let's do this part like this. There we go. We can then select point to edit these points. Example here, we can set we are in radius mode, so the value we input here will be from this part of the center line to here. So it's 1 inch. If we go to diameter, we see that that goes to 2. For example, we can set this like this. If we can also add constraints or relations. So if we wish for this point to be in at the same height as this one, we'll click on the first one, click add relation, and we choose the second item. I'll then go to widest and go to 0, and we'll see they are perfectly straight now. You can do the same for the Z axis. I'm sorry. Just here, get X this. You can see we can move this up. That's gonna move it, or we can go to 0 for them to be perfectly straight. Let's do 1 inch. So 1 inch here. Sorry. Mm. So set 4. I'm gonna add the relation for this one. And there's this mode, which is still work in progress, which we can add, select a point, and we can add a fillet radius. We can modify it or delete it. So we're gonna set that there. And here we have the 3D view, which allows you to view our 3D part. We can export this mesh if we wish. And we can see the stock here. We just go to CAM for a second. We'll set the stock diameter 2 and length 4. We got it. If you go to 3D view, we can see the part and we can see the stock. And we can also export the stock if we wish, just as a reference. We can add miscellaneous points. For example, I'm going to choose one on this side of the turret and one here. This will help us add approaches to the operations. And we can clear the points. We can also modify these points here by moving this value. And we can delete them if we wish. Now we can go to the CAM part once we have our part ready. We already set our stock, but normally you will select it at this point, and we can select the work offset. So me personally, I like to put the work offset at the end of the part or the stock. So I put it there, but you can put it wherever you want. You can put 0, and all your G codes are going to be generated with that reference, right? So I'm going to put it at the end of the part. Here we have the tools manager. We can add new tools and we can edit them. These are real tools that I have on my lathe, such as this rhombic. With the rhombic you can create CNMGs, BNMGs, whatever you like, with the angle you wish. For example, we can set the angle position for this tool like this, as well as the angle of it, just like that. So say that, and we can put it on both sides of the turret. So if we have it on this part of the gang tooling, just do this and it flips over in this side. We also have circle tooling and groovers. So we can start adding an operation. First of all, I'm gonna change the stock diameter to 2.1 just so we can cut the diameter. Let's do a rough. I'm gonna select the rhombic tool, which is my first tool. One thing to keep in mind is that whenever you choose the first tool, it's gonna be T0101, the offset one. So you gotta make sure that these tools match the tools you get on your lathe. So we're gonna select the tool for the rough. Here we have a few tooltips that will help you to know what are we doing here. So this is the length where we start from the origin, the 0. For the finish radius, I'm gonna do 1 inch, so that means it's gonna be on this line right here. I'm gonna give it 10 thousandths of pass. This is all we need to create the toolpath, and we can simulate it right here. It's gonna do about 3 passes, I believe. Never mind, it's like 5. We can also select the feet for it. So once we generate the code, it's gonna set that feet. By default, it's 6. So if you don't select anything, it's gonna be 6. We can select an approach and a retract. So here I selected the miscellaneous point we have created earlier, and we can select direct, and you will see that the approach is gonna start from the toolpath's gonna start from that point. There's a few flavors for this approach, so you can do first X and then Z, and then first Z and then Y. Also for the retract, we can select it individually. So this is going to be the direct, and we can select other style for it, just like that. The entry or exit is just what the name implies. So it's just a little piece of line that it creates before entering into the cutting and also at the end. So you can set an angle, you can set a top. I cannot see it right there. Let me hold on a second. There it is. Or you can do it a flat outwards. So I'm going to leave it at flat. Here we can recenter and can visualize this toolpath. You can edit it and we can move it up or down or delete it. Here, if we add another operation, we can see that this stock from the last operation is no longer shown, so we have the most updated state of the part, if you can say. We're gonna do also a rough here. I'm gonna choose a line to do a rough there. I'm gonna give it 10,000 once again. If we calculate that, it creates a specific toolpath for roughing there, and I think it gives it 10 thousandths of stock there. One thing to keep in mind is that we always select the lines on the top side of the turret. The software automatically detects which tool you're using and it creates the toolpath on the appropriate side. For example, if I select a group, which is a tool that I have on this side, the toolpath is generated on the top side automatically. We can select also the approach for this one, just as we did before. Got a direct one. There we go. We can then add a profile. I'm gonna use the groover again. I'm gonna select this face. And I'm gonna do, there's a bunch of flavors for the cutting pattern, so you just gotta play with it. I'm gonna get 0 stock left. And I'm gonna do maybe 55. And that's you can see it's going back and forth to cut. You can see the material being removed on the bottom side. There's a few different flavors. For example, this one is only on one direction. There's a small error here because it's not showing the removed material, but we know that it's actually removed because we've seen the toolpath in this case. We can then add, for example, on profile finish with the rhombic. Again, we select only on the top side. We select this point, and I'm gonna select this one right here. And only the profile finish is the one that follows this curve, so we can cut that curve there. Okay, my bad. And I'm just gonna select the approach and retract. We can then maybe do parting, like a group. Choose my grouping, point 1, and use left radius 0. That means it's gonna go all the way through and gonna cut it. And you can see it here. We can also add a peg distance, which that distance is gonna come back out and go inside again. I'm gonna choose some approaches for this as well. And there we are. In this case, it will be good to use an entry sometimes, because it's gonna pull it out and it's gonna do a G01. So it's gonna be a slower entry, and this type of operations are very hard on the machine, so it's good to do that sometimes. We can then add, for example, a G code. I like to add an M01 and then G101 and then G01 X0 Z0. So what this does is it stops the machine. We can remove the part, clean up, and then we click cycle start, and it's gonna move the tool one to this point right here. That allows you to pull our stock all the way to the tool and consume less time in setting up. So I always like to do that when I'm gonna run production parts. And right here we're ready to export this code. So you can just click on export G code and got the whole code right here. You can then copy it and save it as a G code and run it on your Mac 3 lathe. The purpose of this software was that it's gonna be way easier for entry-level machinist or a hobbyist to maybe get into this world. Maybe this can be your first software, and then you can jump onto something more powerful. But for most of my machining projects, I found that this is more than enough. I will keep updating this to add better functionality. So if you liked it, hope you liked it. Um, keep tuned in for more. Thank you very much.